This is where my core values come in of radical giving. I knew that even people who didn't buy, but who took me up on the sneak peek, if they took me up on the sneak peek and went through module 1, they could improve their email marketing game. And so I knew that, hey, my audience, I could serve them with this, and it wasn't just a sales tactic. And with me, that's always important. I don't want things to simply be sales tactics. I always want to serve, even when I sell. Welcome to the Certified Badass Online Marketing Podcast, where being a badass has less to do with what you wear and what music you listen to, and everything to do with whether you've got the thriving online business of your dreams. I'm your renegade thinking Harvard Law grad turned online entrepreneur host, Bobby Klink. In my years building my thriving business, the most important lesson I've learned is that being a badass online marketer isn't about secret strategies or ninja tactics. It's about doing the basic stuff right and showing the F up. So each week here on the show, you'll get clear, easy to execute guidance on how to build your online business and a swift kick in the ass or two to make sure you're getting it done. Hey there, welcome to episode 171 of the Certified Badass Online Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Klink, and I'm excited for today's show because this is another one of my debrief episodes. Specifically, in today's episode, I'm going to give you a debrief of a flash sale that we just did so that you can understand what's possible and can kind of get a sense of, how I'm thinking in my business, what's working in my business, and hopefully from it, you can learn some lessons that will really help you in your business. Because I believe that one of the things that we as entrepreneurs need to be doing is looking at what other people are doing. And when we can get a behind the scenes, get that behind the scenes and learn from it. What I can tell you is that one of the most important lessons I've learned in the mastermind I'm in is that some of the most valuable insights I get aren't on questions I ask. They're not on training. It's from watching other people's hot seats. I know, for example, I won't say who because we don't talk about what happens in the mastermind that other people disclose, but one of the most life-changing moments for me in my business came last June. So June of 2019, when another member had a hot seat question. In other words, was struggling with building their team and was asking a question of the group. And that was the period when I was struggling with it too. And literally the answers, the feedback, the questions, the coaching that member got shifted my business and my mindset around hiring in a way that was profound. That's what actually started me on the process, that insight I got from that moment of actually building my team. And now I have a team that I love, that kind of rocks, that I would literally put up against any other entrepreneur in the business. I would put my team against theirs and I would win. That's how much I love my team and believe in my team. But that was only possible because I got insight from what someone else was doing. And so I share that with you as a general tidbit that you should be watching and listening and trying to get insights from what other people are doing. And that's why I do these debriefs. These debriefs aren't about me bragging. And in fact, if you know most of my debriefs, I'm not bragging in the sense of giving you these huge results, huge numbers like a lot of people give, because that's not how I've structured my business. So I give you that feedback. We're going to do this, a flash sale debrief here so you can understand what happened and what I was able to kind of accomplish from a 2-day email only sale. Now, before we dive in, though, this episode is brought to you by my friend Amy Porterfield's Digital Course Academy. She'll be opening the doors to it in September, and it is an amazing program. It's a program that helped me kind of create my online course, Badass Email Marketing. I was an ambassador inside the program twice, 2 different times. I served as kind of a student coach helping people, and I know it is a program that can help entrepreneurs who are ready to build an online course to get that done. Now, with that said, I'm also going to tell you that right now, starting today, you can get a sneak peek inside of Digital Course Academy. It is redone. Amy has kind of reshot it, has redone the content in a wonderful way, and she's giving people a sneak peek inside Module 1 so you can see what Digital Course Academy is like, so you can decide, hey, is this right for me? Is this something that's going to work for my business? If you want to take her up on that, you can go over to bobbyklink.com/DCA peak. That's DCAPEEK. So again, bobbyklink.com/DCA peak. And what I want you to get as you listen to this episode, you're going to hear that I'm implementing things that I learned from Amy, both in what she teaches, but also in how she launches. So even if you're not at a point where you are ready to create a digital course for yourself, I would encourage you to watch how Amy does launches because you can learn a lot from it. So with that, let's talk about this flash sale and give you an idea of what it was. I want to set the scene in I don't know, a few episodes over the last couple of months. I've talked about my digital course, Badass Email Marketing, that we created. We did a beta launch of it back in March, which meant we sold it before we made it. And then we created it kind of live in real time. Now, we had modules 1 and 2 complete before the launch, but from there on, we were kind of live creating it as we were doing it with feedback, with guidance, with what I was seeing from people, etc. And Badass Email Marketing is, as it would sound like, an email marketing course. It is what you would call a signature course because it is kind of soup to nuts with email marketing from the first email you send to kind of even your post-sale emails. So we cover all of that stuff in this course. And we got it all built. The actual course itself was complete. I guess it was probably in May, I think May or June. I don't remember exactly when. We had a couple tidbits. Like I created a master manual, which is we condensed the video lessons down into a manual that's basically a kind of a book and added in all of the swipe files. That is now with kind of the formatters at this point to get ready to be sent out to people, but everything else was already done. And so we had that done. And for a while, we weren't sure what we were going to do. Were we going to launch it again? Were we going to use webinar launches? Were we going to do what, how was it going to be put out to the world again after the beta launch? And we had some different ideas. But because of a decision that I've made in my business that I don't want to be on kind of the launch cycle over and over again, and because I was already getting great results, great feedback on copy and all of that stuff, I felt the messaging was already pretty dialed in. We decided we were going to evergreen it. In other words, we were going to make it so that it's available all the time. We're going to build out a funnel to bring new people in, kind of bring them in, and we're still mapping it out exactly. And in fact, I've kind of put my team in charge of that. I've delegated the responsibility of this to my team to come up with a plan, to come back to me to say, hey, here's what we think we ought to do, and here's how we're going to do it, and then we'll build it all out. The problem is we have some other things that we're working on at the same time. Among other things, we are really kind of trying to dial in the funnel after someone downloads my free privacy policy. So on the legal side of my business. So I knew realistically that even as we sat here in kind of late July, early August, it was going to be at least a couple months, if not a few months, before we could have Badass Email Marketing evergreen and ready for sale. So that's kind of where we were. That's what we knew the situation was. Well, then what happened is literally, I don't remember if it was at the very end of July or the very beginning of August, but right around then, someone in my community reached out to my team and said, hey, when is Badass Email Marketing going to be available? We would like to, I'd like to buy it. I'm interested, etc. And so my team and I had this discussion. And we kind of talked about the idea of doing a flash sale, but we didn't really come to any solution until I was literally coaching my Inner Circle coaching group on August 5th. And then I get off to find this long series of discussions within our project management. And my team had basically decided, here's what we're doing. They had mapped it out and had decided we were doing this flash sale. Now, I tell you this so that you get the point that having a team that you trust is amazing. Literally, they came up with this plan, but they didn't just come up with it. So August 5th was a Wednesday, and here was the plan. We were going to have an open cart period for 2 days, August 13th and 14th. So the following Thursday and Friday from this Wednesday when we had it set up. At this point, we had our old sales page, which we were going to have to tweak because the offer was going to be significantly different. Because the first time I launched it, it was what was called a football phone. It was if someone joined my membership for a year commitment, they would get access to the course. We weren't doing that anymore. This was going to be just a sale of the course. So we had to completely redo our sales page. None of the emails had been written. No plans were in place. And on Wednesday, we decided, hey, we're gonna do this sale next week on Thursday and Friday. But not only that, my team had come up with this brilliant idea. Why don't we give people a sneak peek inside the course? And first they were thinking they had some ideas about maybe we could give them this or that. And I remembered that Amy, my mentor on digital courses, had done a sneak peek last year and was going to do it this year for her launch of Digital Course Academy. I said, hey, we're not going to do a little thing. We're going to give them all of module 1, and we're going to give them all of module 1 for the next week and a half or whatever it was till the sale was closed. Because I said, I don't know, it seems to me that's one of the best things we could do to show people what the course is about. I also know that the course with us, module 1 is a very meaty module. It's not fluff. It's not just kind of, clearing the throat. It's really giving you a lot of insight. And so number 1, people would get a good impression of the course. But I also knew, and this is where my core values come in of radical giving. I knew that even people who didn't buy, but who took me up on the sneak peek, if they took me up on the sneak peek and went through module 1, they could improve their email marketing game. And so I knew that, hey, my audience, I could serve them with this, and it wasn't just a sales tactic. And with me, that's always important. I don't want things to simply be sales tactics. I always want to serve, even when I sell. And so I looked at it and said, perfect, I love it, let's do it. So we did it, and I think we literally sent the first sneak peek email that night on August 5th. So just to give you a sense, my team came up with the idea while I was on a coaching call that started at either 1 or 2:30. I don't remember what time it started that day. And by like 8 o'clock that night or 8:30, we had sent out our first email inviting people into a sneak peek. So this is kind of a lesson that I want you to take as part of my success, even before I had my team, but now, especially when I have my team, is speed of execution. It's having an idea, it's putting it out there, and it's going with it. That's part of what works for us. So I just want to share that with you. So we were going to do the sneak peek. And initially the plan was, hey, 2 days, we're going to send 4 emails, 4 core emails to everybody. We ended up expanding that to 5 emails. And then I did one the night before it technically opened to the sneak peekers. So we kind of like sent an email Wednesday, the 12th at 8 or 9 o'clock, something like that, telling the people who had taken me up on the sneak peek that they could go buy. The offer, to give you an idea of what the offer was, it was $797 to get the course all at once. Also, they're going to get 6 weeks inside my Badass Email Marketing Facebook group. They also get, I think it's 7 or 8 months of access to my Fans First Society membership. They get a VIP ticket to my online or my virtual event, Badass Online Marketing Live. And I think there may have been 1 or 2 other, but like smaller bonuses. But that was the offer. And to give you an idea on that offer, our plan is that once it's evergreen, the course will be $997. And so we said, hey, we're going to do this because it is an email only to my list. It's not going to cold traffic. I like rewarding my people. I like my people to get benefits. Plus, I'm doing this without having to finish putting together the launch, et cetera. We were going to give them a discount. So it was $200 off what the price will ultimately be. So that was the offer. The emails, to give you a sense, the first email was going to be what's called a value load, which is setting out kind of what is the value proposition, what is the transformation they get? What do they actually get? You got to give them a little bit about the details too. The second email was going to be a case study or testimonial. The third email was going to be a frequently asked questions, an enhanced FAQ, and then also invite them to call me. And then cart close, which are all about urgency. So that was the plan that we set in place. Again, we ultimately added an additional cart close. So there were 2 cart close emails on Friday, and we had the sneak peek extra email as well. But that was what happened. The case study email literally changed because one of my friends, Sabila, was in the middle of launching her program, email only. She closed her cart on literally the Monday, I believe it was, when we were going to open on Thursday, and she got great results and got great feedback. So she shared it with me. So I took that and made that the case study email. So that was the launch, and that was it. The results, we had 17 sales, 11 of them full pay, 6 payment plan. So when you kind of figure out what is the booked value of that, it's $14,000. And by booked value, that means the money that actually came in plus the future payments on the payment plans was a little over 14,000. I think it was 14,059. And we had 9 of the 17 sales went to people who had participated in the sneak peek. So slightly more than half. Now, this is where I'm going to say, again, you might hear that and say, 14,000, this isn't any big, huge launch. And I agree, it's not. But this was never meant to be a big launch. And for a lot of people in my audience, I would say, what could a few $1,000s or what could $5,000 or what could $10,000 do for you if it was this light little, let me send some emails and invite people into an existing program? So again, that's the key thing here. By giving people access to this, yes, there will be a few more questions in my groups. But other than that, I didn't have to create anything. It does not add any work to us, etc. I didn't have to spend time creating the course because it was already created. This was a chance to market an existing course that I had created to my existing email list and for zero cost, basically bring in $14,000 into my kitty. I don't know about you, but if I could do that every week, I'd be pretty darn happy. Now, you obviously couldn't do a flash sale every week, but I give you this as a bit of, looking at it and say, this is something that might be interesting as a way to do it. And I talked about my business is not built on big launches. We look at any kind of launch result, even affiliate launches we do, as kind of the gravy, or not even really the gravy, as the sprinkles on top of the frosting, on top of the cupcake, because we make enough every month on month in and month out sales on, little things like flash sales, on my legal templates, on just the little stuff that people can get anytime they want. That covers all of our expenses and has us making enough to grow. And so that's our business model. I think it's a business model I love because I don't have the stress. When I go into launches now, I can walk in and it's fun. It's fun, like what I'm doing. I'm participating in Amy's Digital Course Academy launch as an affiliate, and I can look at it and just have fun with it because no matter what happens, I'm not going to be hurting as a result of, the results there. If I don't have some big, huge launch, I'm not going to be like, it's not going to affect my ability to pay the bills. So I share that with you just so you have a sense that I look at these little kind of, $14,000, $15,000 type of little flash sales as the thing that can really free you up and make your business and your life much easier. So with that, and talking about the results, now I want to talk about some key learnings that I took from the launch. And I want you to listen here because this is where you can hear, like, whenever you do any kind of sale, any kind of promotion, you should do a debrief that includes, okay, what are the results? But then says, what did I learn? And, sometimes what you learned is this is working. We're going to do more of this. Sometimes what you learn is, this didn't work. I need to change it up. And so you can think about it different ways, but it's always you want to look at those things and figure out what did you learn from the launch. And so let's go through the things I learned. Number 1, launch free fall is real and it sucks. And again, this I want to stress to you, even though I talked about how launches can be fun, etc. There is this concept known as launch free fall, and it is a much bigger concern for people who are putting all of their eggs into the launch basket. I've heard many of my peers talk about it, and what launch free fall is when you're in the middle of a launch. It could be in pre-launch when you're inviting people. It could be when the cart is open, but whatever period you're in and things aren't working like you expected, like you hoped, like you wanted. Okay. And it's the trick is a lot of people literally kind of start spiraling emotionally. And that's why you think of it as a free fall. You are, you will have people who freak out, who worry, who just, it consumes their energy. And the problem is, what I need to tell you is when you bring that energy to your launch, it's not good. So we all need to work on this, but also at the same time, when you're in free fall, like sometimes you need to look and say, okay, do I just need to relax and calm down? Or is it a sign that I need to pivot here, that I need to make a change, etc.? Now, I'm going to tell you, in a 2-day flash sale like we had, there really isn't a way to pivot, right? I mean, I don't have enough time to make a big shift and things to switch up what I was doing, etc. Was not possible. So in my case, it was going to have to be, keep calm and carry on. And now in this case, what I will tell you, I did pivot slightly. I mentioned we originally were going to send 4 emails. We originally were only going to send 1 cart close email. But then I remembered, look, one of my mantras that I teach people is keep calm and send another email. And so we added an extra email to our email kind of sequence that we were going to send to people on the sale. And I also went live, I think at extra time as I was feeling the stress. But let me tell you why we kind of were in a bit of a launch freefall. Now, I mentioned to you that we sent an email to sneak peek people the night before it opened, letting them start. And then including that, and at the end of day 1, we were at 5 sales. And we're like, whoa, this is not going how we expected. This is not going how we wanted. And so I'll be honest with you, Katie, my integrator, and I on Friday morning, we were kind of, we were chatting and she's on the West Coast. So luckily I always have a few hours kind of before she's up to process things. Cause I had woken up and been like, man, But I had kind of gotten the sense. I was like, okay, calm down, Bobby. This is not a big deal. It's a flash sale. I mean, it's not a launch. There's no big, pressure here. There's nothing else. But also, again, we hadn't put a ton of effort into it. And oh, by the way, we're simultaneously doing this with 2 other promotions that we're working on. So calm down, Bobby. It's not the end of the world. We can just deal with it. But I also did remember something that I have to remind myself of. Now, most entrepreneurs, when they do launches, what they'll see is kind of when you look at sales over the period that the cart is open, it looks either like a V or like a U. In other words, the day the cart opens, they get a ton of sales, and then it kind of plummets down in the middle of the launch, and then in the last day or 2 before they close the cart, it spikes back up. So basically for most people, whether they do a 4-day, so most people who do a 4-day, you're going to see probably 80 to 85% of sales come in day 1 and day 4 combined. And most people will actually get more on day 1 than on day 4. People who do a 7-day sale, same kind of thing. Day 1, when the cart opens, you'll see a bunch. And then days like 6 and 7, you'll see a lot of activity. So that's kind of the typical. And you see this big spike. And I had to remember, and I had to center myself around the fact that that's never how my email only launches have worked. Going back to the days that I did my non-launch launches of my template library, my legal product, I would see kind of like mine looks like a stair step up. And in other words, like my biggest days are always cart close day. And it's almost like you can see it increasing day by day by day. And the reason why is because I'm not doing a big launch event. I haven't built this big, huge pent up demand with an event that gets people crazy excited and ready to buy. Instead, I'm converting them with my emails. I'm just sending emails that are making people decide, oh yeah, this is right for me. Oh yeah, this is right for me. Oh, okay, yeah, this is right for me. And so that's what happens. And so I had to remind myself of that. And so just to give you a sense, we had more than half the sales. We had almost 2/3 of the sales came in the last 12 hours. Now, again, this was only like a 48-hour sale, a little more than 48-hour sale. But still, you can see how we were kind of slow, and then zing, straight up. And I have some theories on that. And I'm not sure that this is what's happening, but I think some people in my audience actually want to wait until the emails are over because they want to see all my emails. That's just a little bit of hubris and self-assuredness, I guess. But I do always have to remind myself that this is my pattern. And it never ceases to amaze me. When cart opens, I'm kind of nervous because it doesn't seem to be going great. So I had to remind myself of that. And like I said, sure enough, true to form, it picked up. And I think there's a learning here for everybody, which is that for most people, if you don't do a big event for a launch, if you launch with email, or even if you just launched with, emails and a bunch of social and a bunch of going lives and things like that, but you didn't do a ton of lead up in advance of it, well, you're not going to have people who are just raring to go, standing at the door waiting for you to open it so they can run in and buy. So you're going to have a more kind of, building process. And so I give that insight to you so that you understand that you understand it's likely to happen and you don't freak out, because freaking out wouldn't do any good. So that was the first thing. Launch free for all is real. Again, even though in this thing that really was just kind of okay, hey, let's try it and let's see what happens. I was struggling and I had to recenter myself. And I did it before I did anything on Friday related to business, related to launch, because the energy you bring to a launch is so important. The energy you bring to everything in your team is so important. Literally, I was having a conversation with Katie, my integrator on my team, about something else yesterday. And she's like, why I was asking you about your feelings, right? About something that we were struggling with. And I said, and I kind of said, well, I don't know exactly. And she went through it and she said, because your feelings, your emotions, and she was saying this to me, she said, it affects the team, it affects your audience, it affects everything. And she's seen it. She's seen how this happens. And so it's very helpful that I have, someone, who I view pretty much, as a partner in my business, who she and I can have these conversations. We can have the kind of, she can help me, push through emotional things when I'm dealing with them before it affects the rest of the team, before it affects my audience, et cetera. So that's very helpful. But you need to have a way to deal with emotions if you're dealing with the launch free fall. So that's kind of key learning number one. Now, key learning number two from this launch for me was that it was too cheap. You may say, whoa, what are you talking about, Bobby? $800 for a course doesn't sound cheap. And I said, well, yeah, it's not. But the sign that it was too cheap was the ratio of full pay to payment plan sales. Now, reminder, I had 11 sales at full price, and I had 6 sales on the payment plan. And the reason why I say that this is a sign is that it's too cheap, and this is the tidbit you want to take from this. As a general rule, you want there to be some price resistance to your course. And again, let me step back for this for a second. I'm not saying purely because you want to make as much money as you can. I'm saying when I look at the course, I think it's the kind of course that could easily deliver a $2,000 price tag. But I tend to be someone who doesn't charge as much, right? So I look at that and I look, there are other people in the market selling email courses for $1,500. And so, I am not expensive. I'm kind of along the less expensive side on email marketing programs. And the sign that I don't have price resistance here is that fewer than 50% of people took me up on the payment plan. Conventional wisdom is that as a general rule, you should think you're priced right when you're split about 50-50 between full pay and payment plan. Now, again, if you have a $97 course, you're not going to do a payment plan. But if you're doing, a course that's, getting up near $1,000 and your mix of price points is more heavily towards the full pay, that's a sign that you likely could raise your price, and that probably is a more appropriate price would be to be slightly higher, because it's a sign that price is not an objection. And again, basic supply and demand, the supply curve and the demand curve should meet, et cetera. And that means prices go up when demand is higher. And so when you don't have price objections, it's a sign that your course probably should be priced higher because people think it's a great deal. And so they're taking you up on it, and you're not having price objections. So that was key learning number 2. Key learning number 3, the sneak peek works. Slightly more than half of our sales were from people who took us up on the sneak peek. Now, it's not like we had 50% of the people who took us up on the sneak peek bought. I never expected that because, let's be honest, I understand that there are some people who are like, hey, I get an opportunity to get into this module one, I'm going to do it. So I, had no intention of buying, and nothing that was in module one was going to make them buy, but they were going to take me up on this valuable give. And that's fine. I expected that. That is 100% okay. But the good news is that like my conversion rate on sneak peekers was about like what you would expect on a conversion rate for a webinar, for any kind of launch vehicle. So this is kind of a sign to me that, hey, a sneak peek works. And who knows? It could be cause, it could be effect. In other words, it could be that people who were like already primed to buy, of course, were going to take me up on the sneak peek. That could be why. Or it could be that the sneak peek actually helps to convert. You'll never really know that, but I look at it and I say, okay, what's a valuable thing? And this is a key learning that I'm taking and my team is going to take and say, okay, as we evergreen this funnel, is there a way to give people access for a limited period of time? And so that's what we want to be thinking about is, can we, do those things? Can we is it a way, should we kind of work a sneak peek into our evergreen funnel as a way to warm people up even more? Because when you do an evergreen funnel to cold or even, very lukewarm traffic, one of the big problems is getting people warmed up. Now, you can probably imagine, since it's a course about email marketing will be a big part of how I try to warm people up in the funnel. But we're also going to likely look at, should we add a sneak peek as a way to get people warmed up as kind of an added layer, as instead of doing a webinar, maybe instead of doing an evergreen webinar, which is the conventional wisdom of how you would do an evergreen funnel, something like this. Instead, maybe we give them a sneak peek. And so we'll think about that. That'll be kind of something that goes into our thought process of a potential way to build an evergreen funnel. But again, I think I want everyone to hear from this. If you have a course, like once it's built, like I couldn't have done this when I beta launched, right? But now that I have it built, think of these like easy ways to let people take a look. If you have a module one of my course is a 7 module course. So it's not like someone could come in and literally just take module one and that's all they need. Now they're going to get value from module one. So if you're going to do a sneak peek, you need to make sure that the module has value and is something they will actually be able to get something from and take action based upon. And for us, that's the case because module one has, things like understanding the overall journey of an email marketing program and, finding your voice, like your personal email voice, understanding the purpose and goals of email marketing. So you get all those things. So people will get a lot of value out of module one. So the learning that you could take for this is that from this is if you have a course or once you build a course and it's built out, if module one gives immense value, you might want to consider doing a sneak peek, let people try it out. You could do it as part of a webinar launch. You could do it before a webinar. You could do it as an evergreen. You can do a lot of different things to work this into your sales funnel. Because again, I always make this joke, but in a lot of ways, what we do is very similar to what drug dealers do. We give people a taste and they like it. And again, that may sound crude, but my community thinks it's funny when I say that. They said, great, now we're drug dealers too. I mean, we're not. The difference is our products help people. But again, oftentimes the best way to convince people, if you have a great product, one of the best ways to convince people to buy is to let them take a look. And so that's where a sneak peek comes in. Now, here's the final learning I want to talk about, which is the opposite of that, which is that my list continues to buy without launches, without marketing techniques, etc. And what I mean by that is, yes, a little over half, so 9 of 17 buyers went through the sneak peek. But that, of course, means 8 of 17 buyers, so just under half of them didn't go through the sneak peek. So these are people who, it could have been that they missed the sneak peek email. It could have been that they were at a place they said, hey, I don't have time to do this sneak peek now, but I'm going to buy anyway. I don't know. But what I have found with my audience is they are buyers. And this is part of the reason why I stress to people, even if you're going to do a launch type, a webinar, a video series, a challenge, I always encourage my audience to still send emails to their entire list, not just the people who take them up on the launch vehicle. Depending on how many emails you're going to send, you might send all of them or you might send some of them. Not exactly clear, but I have always found that in mine, even when I do launches, somewhere around 50% of the people who buy are not people who went through the launch vehicle. Now, my audience is different than most people. I guess it's not based on affiliate marketing. If you're doing a big affiliate launch, that probably won't be the case, but it's it is worth taking time to focus not just on people who sign up for your webinar, sign up for your video series and your challenge. Don't ignore the rest of your list. You have people there who will show up and who will buy. And look, some of these people, I saw their name. I was like, oh, I know them. They've been in my community forever. And then others of them were people who, maybe they'd been in my community for a while, but I didn't necessarily recognize the name. So they weren't people that I was like, oh, well, they're definitely going to buy. No, it was just people who've been in my world, who've seen my emails. And again, it helps that my product is related to my emails. So they've experienced the results of the product. And so, that's what I would share. That's kind of the last learning I take. But I want everyone to understand that you should not ignore people just because they don't sign up for a launch vehicle, because oftentimes you'll have people on your list who want to buy and will be ready to buy. And so one of the things I teach inside of my, something I learned also from Amy Porterfield is you do what's called a sales booster email sequence. It's emails that you send. And in my course, I have a very specific, for a bigger launch, a very specific set of emails. I would say you should send these emails to hit these high points to actually convert people. So in this case, because it was a flash sale and it wasn't a ton of emails, we sent all the emails to everybody except the sneak peekers got an early access email. So that's it. That's kind of the lessons I learned. Again, I share this because one of the things I've learned is people in my audience have loved when I'm willing to share results from things that are not six-figure launches, because the six-figure launches are great, but they like hearing about these more nitty-gritty details of how, you can just kind of generate stuff all the time. And, what this hopefully has shown for you is like, once you have a digital course or other kind of digital product that's created, it's great. You're in this great position. That's why I said I could do this flash sale knowing I was adding zero work to my plate other than a couple, like once the sale was closed, other than maybe a couple of extra questions in my Facebook group. And that was it. I didn't have to build anything. I didn't have to create anything. I didn't have to do anything. And, without having to do a ton of work, we were able to generate $14,000 in a week. That's a pretty good result. And, that's what's possible kind of once you have done the work of, building out the right product for your audience, building up your audience and, connecting with your audience and kind of creating the right systems to do that. So that's my encouragement to you. Now, if you're thinking about creating a digital course but haven't yet, or if you have a digital course but you're feeling like it's not really performing well, and you're thinking about getting help, I cannot recommend my mentor, Amy Porterfield, her program highly enough. Her program, Digital Course Academy, is soup to nuts, and she's actually tweaked it, made it even better, and really kind of, helped to set it up to work perfectly for entrepreneurs, the entrepreneurs that she's hearing from. And if you're interested, I would definitely encourage you, head over to bobbyklink.com/DCA peak. Again, DCA peak. And from there, you can sign up to get a sneak peek of module 1 of her program and to get a sense of, do you like her teaching style? Is this the right program for you? And then from there, you'll hear more in the coming weeks about kind of her launch and how you can get more information about creating a course. And if you're ready, joining her Digital Course Academy. So that's it for today's episode. I'll see you again next week. That's it for this episode of the Certified Badass Online Marketing Podcast. Make sure to tune in next time. And in the meantime, go out and build the badass business of your dreams.